Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for joining the Other Woman magazine tonight. And our topic is men, mental health, and the holidays. We have a returning guest, Mr. Mark Shipman, and he is backstage awaiting. We were doing a little talking before I went live, and it's interesting. You never know a person's past, and that is the whole purpose of the peeling back the layers. You really don't know why a person is who they are. So we were talking a little bit about his childhood and the holidays and how he became, what's the word, desensitized, I think he used. So we're going to bring him on in a minute. However, I wanted to share right quickly, let me find it, on some of the reasons why we have such a difficult time during the holidays. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Mark in. And please share, please share. Ladies, we have men in our lives who may need to watch this. We may have brothers, loved ones. Hey, Mr. Mark, welcome.
Amen. Hey, how you doing?
Wonderful. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
All righty. Welcome back. Welcome back. Mr. Mark Shipman, you have been made yourself available to the Other Woman magazine in so many different ways. And these live broadcasts are so important, the communication, the dialogue about mental health. I just want you to know how much it is appreciated, your transparency and your ability to unmask so that other men, not just our culture, but many men suffer and deal with it. But for whatever reason, our culture, we do not get the help that's needed. We do not get properly diagnosed. And you are too familiar with all of that. Before we get into just the mental health, the stresses that come with it, let's talk about the holidays, since the holidays are upon us. And why is it so difficult? The holidays can be stressful anyway. Agree? The holidays are
Yeah,
stressful for me. I don't deal with depression. We all have some type of mental illness. If we have a brain, we have mental capabilities.
yeah,
Uh, we need to get away from the stigma that mental health awareness is anyway connotated or associated with being crazy or being out of your mind.
yeah,
Mental health, and that's why we need more discussions like this, is to inform and educate. So we
yeah.
all
That's
deal
true.
with stresses during the holidays, but what is it about um, men, mental health? You specifically deal with depression and the holidays.
Well, speaking from my perspective, the holidays aren't about men. They're really not. Um, and I and what I mean by that, especially any holidays such as Christmas, that deals or any holiday that deals with any kind of gift giving, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, even Father's Day. Father's Day is a name only. Holidays aren't about men. Um, Reason being is that when you think about it, just on the gift perspective, um, what man really wants socks and ties as a gift when you think about it? So it's not geared towards us,
Right,
and I'm
right.
okay with that. I've never really been a holiday person, um, but the added pressure for men is that if you a man in a relationship, you're expected to do it big for any holiday because you don't want to be considered cheap. We allow society to dictate our pockets. So we don't want to be deemed as cheap. So we feel like we have to go all out. On Thanksgiving, sometimes we get the break, if you go with the traditional, the turkey and the dressing and stuff, the majority of men actually get to, sit to the side and just clean up afterwards. But, in the South, uh, it ain't always turkey. You be out there on the grill. There have been plenty of years for Thanksgiving. Instead of traditional, we've had steaks and ribs, so you out there working. For Christmas, it's about decorating. So your neighbors will see your prestige by putting lights on the outside of the house. It's about what other folks think. When it comes to gift, if
Mhm.
you're single man dating, oh, you better come big. By New Year, you by yourself. If you're married
Well,
and you don't put a whole lot of thought into what you get her, you're gonna spend Christmas night drinking spiked eggnog sitting by yourself. So it puts a lot of pressure on men. If you're a man with
yeah,
kids, kids want everything, and every father that's truly trying to be a father want to give them everything. But say for instance, you have a situation where you have kids outside of the relationship you're in. Um, it's pressure on the man that uh, he balanced the gifts. Uh, Say he has a teenager from a previous relationship and he have a 3-year-old at home. Well, he can't buy that teenager a PS5 because then it's expected that he buy at home a PS5. But what 3-year-old gonna play a PS5? So it's a balance. It's a lot of pressure, um, and so the best thing to do as a man to be upfront. Um, in any relationship I've been in, I tell them I'm not a holiday person. Uh, Even for Valentine's Day, I don't believe in giving flowers for Valentine's Day because someone else has decided that I give her flowers because it's Tuesday or because I know she needs a smile every other day. Um, but the pressure and the stigma of being, that prestige for holidays, that's a lot because, you know, it's so often, and I've done it in the past for my youngest son, is that you spend all this for Christmas and then you're trying to make it until hopefully you get I'm sorry, you're trying to make it until New Year's hoping that you can get an income tax refund to catch up on the bills that you spent gift money on. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on a man to try to do that. Uh,
is that your
uh,
dog down there?
yes, he is, and he's hitting the light. I apologize. Y'all
That's
excuse me.
okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I
You know,
got a
you
baby that's stuck by my leg. Yeah, I got a little toddler at the house.
pick him
But
up. Pick him up, Mark. Go ahead and pick him up.
oh Lord, not he gone now. He mad.
Okay. Okay. He didn't get his 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, he didn't get my
Okay.
attention, so he mad. But
You
there's a
know,
lot of pressure on men for holidays and just for um the appearance to outside uh, circumstances, situations. Um, and I refuse to give in to that pressure.
hmm
Yes, uh, my friend Tien that Rico wants all the attention. Like I said, just like having a baby in the house. But fellas, we don't want to admit that we can't do everything that they want for Christmas. If your child give you a long Christmas list, you want to try to get every present. So here we go. We starting with layaway. We trying to work extra hours for the money. Well,
hmm
working extra hours mean less time at home um,
hmm
with the family. So you want to
hmm
do that, and you trying to do it big for meals. So you out buying stuff for that one day, and then that's one reason why you eat leftovers 3 or 4 days because you ain't got no money to buy nothing else. You don't spend all your
Yeah.
money trying to do this big thing for Thanksgiving and things like that. And even
Let
when
me
we
stop you.
don't,
Let me stop you for a minute, Mark. Now you mentioned some things that I know many women probably weren't aware of. You know, you're busy making things happen for a woman. Now, we can say some of the same things. We got to do all the cooking for the meals. It takes what, 2, 3 days to prepare for those Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
Christmas meals, and 5 minutes the food is gone.
Yes.
Um, However, we don't think about what the man is going through, and it is an extra pressure to provide, being the provider, being the head of the household. Like you said, I never thought about how passerbys would look at the house and automatically think why you don't have lights up. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's on the man. So those things, yes, they are. I agree with all of them. Now that's just being a man. We're not even talking about the man with depression.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's even more so.
Yeah. And I've had uh, when it comes to holidays, like I was saying earlier, as weird as it may sound, my blessings desensitized me to holidays, so I never really
Mm,
cared about it. And what I mean by that is I'm from a huge family. I was raised by my father's parents, and so my grandparents raised me, and they had 10 kids. All of which, my grandparents have passed on now, but all 10 kids are still here. All 10 are in Alabama, and all but three are in the same county. Well, all
mm,
but three are in the same, live around each other. Seven of them live in a circle around my grandparents' house. I got my uncle here in Birmingham, one in Mobile, and an uncle in Auburn. So a holiday was, with most people, especially folks from smaller families or folks that families are spread out, a holiday was special because that's the, Christmas or Thanksgiving sometimes or 4th of July is the only time you see those relatives because they got to come
right,
from so far. Well, I
right.
grew up with all of them right there. It was nothing for them to, my uncle from Mobile be like, hey, let's go fishing next weekend. So everybody come there. So holidays, there was not that sense of finally getting to see them because we saw them all the time. And so you didn't think about it as being a big day. It was just another time for us to eat. And then when I got older, and I started to realize the importance of getting together. When I finally moved away, and I started to deal with depression because of the type of work I did. I worked every holiday, so now I go from seeing them all the time to I got to work. So if I can go see them, I have to go see them for a couple of hours and then come right back. And that started to bother me. So it went from not really appreciating it to dealing with the depression of not being able to participate. Because of my job, I've uh, I've missed family reunions. I've missed Christmas. I've missed birthdays because I worked every holiday and every weekend. And so, and then when you add on, like I was saying about extra money for your kids, then I took on
Mm-hmm,
2 jobs. So that was even less
mm-hmm,
time for the holidays. So
mm-hmm.
holidays coming around became real stressful and really depressing because, I'm trying to make this money just to buy gifts without affecting the other bills in the household. You know,
Mark, do you think a man who where money was not a wealthy man, do you think they deal with the same issues?
yes, and the reason being is that the more money you have, the more people expect from you.
That
I was watching today where somebody was complaining about billionaires not donating more to different causes. But like I said, we can't let other people's perception of us affect our pockets.
right,
While it's nice to be able to do for folks, a lot of them expect you to do it because you got it or they think you have it. So being wealthy actually adds more because you can't, you're not in the position to get socks and ties as gifts for others
right.
for holidays if they expect you got a lot of money. They expect something extravagant. So it becomes more pressure. It's just pressure on a man if he allows society to dictate what he does for others. There's a
Right.
lot of pressure on him to do that. Um,
Extra.
Yeah,
extra
it's extra pressure, you
pressure.
know. And being a black man, um, you know, is always pressure. Um, being a
So,
black man in Alabama, especially considering Alabama one of the poorest states,
right,
where
right,
the majority of our blacks, or I wouldn't say majority. I didn't pull up any kind of data, but it's Alabama. Most of us are blue collar workers. We don't have those executive positions, so we're not making you know money like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's stressful. It's stressful knowing that I got to make this big show, or they expect me because I have a nice home. I'm supposed to be the one to throw the party, or I'm the one that's supposed to be the host all the time, and I'm supposed to, as they said back in the day, we supposed to set it out for the homies. That don't work when
right.
you you
What
know
they
when you
think, or
yeah,
they think you have the
yeah,
money to
yeah.
do all
you
those
know
things.
and don't have a new car or something. I think
Right.
I think folks forget uh what good credit is compared to having money. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they see you if you got he got plenty of money. No, I just managed to pay my bills. I don't need that extra on me. So I do what I'm supposed to do for my house. And you can't, I'm not gonna allow you to make me feel bad if I can't give you something, you know?
Right. Right.
So it's hard. And then on top of that, you're supposed to do all this stuff at the holidays and you're still supposed to smile. You can't show weakness. You can't show that stress. You can't raise your voice. You can't, you know, take a minute to yourself. You can't go off of, isolate yourself for a few minutes. Then why you're not being sociable? Man, I'm just trying to keep from screaming and pulling a Martin and throwing everybody out my house. That's what I'm trying to do. But they don't get that.
They don't
They
get
don't
that.
they don't get that. And we're not supposed to show that, you know.
Mr. Roderick Elliott, thank you for tuning in and for your comment. He says the expectations and leadership of men during this time can be overwhelming. And that's basically what you've been saying. Why do you think we don't have these conversations, Mark, with all the reasons that you gave? And as soon as the commercials began in October, um, that stress begins to build, and you silently suffer the stresses of the holidays. What do you think it would take to have more communication, to have more dialogue, for the awareness of what men go through? Just the awareness. It may not be a solution, but the awareness of it.
We have to stop with the mentality that don't nobody want to hear this. You know, we have to stop with that mentality that me talking about what I'm going through is complaining. Because soon as we start talking about, man, I got a problem too. Well, this is open forum. I'm not talking about my problem for you to fix it. It's funny that we're supposed to listen to women without trying to fix the problem. When women want to talk, sometimes we're supposed to just sit back and listen, which is hard for us
Right,
to do because we're
right.
programmed that if you start talking about something, I'm supposed to be able to fix it. Well,
Have a
brothers the same
solution.
way. If you, I can't help you. I'm not. I just need somebody to talk to. That's it.
Right,
Just
right.
listen. We going through the same thing, and there's nothing wrong with talking to someone. Um, but the mentality is that if we're talking about it, then we're complaining. No, I'm just talking. Or if we're talking
Mhm.
about it, then we're trying to drop that stress on them. No, I'm just talking. And so because
Because
we
you're
know
supposed
they
to be
don't want to hear it,
strong.
yeah,
You're supposed to
because
be
we know they don't want to
strong.
hear it, we don't talk about it.
Right. Mr.
We just keep
Congress,
pushing it down. Just
keep
keep
pushing,
pushing it down.
suppressing it. Robert
You're
Congress,
right,
thank you for
Rob.
tuning in. Yeah.
Exactly.
He says
Exactly.
the issue isn't about the have or have nots, it's about the unwanted expectations, which in turn fosters stress. Yeah.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
expectations, they're going to be there. Who puts those expectations on us, though, Mark? Is it, do we allow expectations
Yes.
to stress us out, or
You
Do
didn't even
you
have to
just
finish the sentence. Yes, we allow it. We allow it to stress us out. I had to. I still don't do it well. Um, I have to learn to say no.
mm,
You know, um, Wendy tells me all the time, Mark, it's okay to say no when somebody, you can't fix it. You can't help them. It's okay to say no. People call me and ask for help. And if I can't do it, I start trying to find someone that can help them. Like it becomes my mission. I need
right,
I need something moved. Before I had a truck, I need something moved. I don't have a truck. But let me see if I can call this one, that one, the other, see what they're doing. So I've taken on their burden simply
right,
because they need somebody to move a washer or drive, because
right,
that's just how we're programmed.
right.
Um,
It's how
as a
you're
man and as
programmed,
growing
Mark.
up, that's how
It's
I'm
how
programmed.
you're
Yeah.
programmed.
Yeah.
Yes, because it is
That
easy to say no for some people.
it kills me. It kills me. It would kill me to say no. Um,
Mm,
it will bother me all night to the point that I would call them back. Did you get it fixed? Well, let me see if I
really.
can work on something. So
So
I've
let
already
me
gotten
ask you
stressed.
that. Let's stop right there. Let me ask you. It kills you to say no, even considering mental health. This is why it's easy for me to say no, because I consider my mental health. I consider my you can say yes all day and be exhausted. People will suck the life out of you. And I
Yeah.
guess I just got tired of that happening where I had to make myself a priority. So when Mark, do you get to the point, you Mark, where you are okay with saying no?
Let's see. I'm 52. So hopefully by the time I turn 53,
Okay. So you're practicing it.
I'm pr- it, I'm practicing it. I'm practicing it because even when I didn't have any money, I've never had to go hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I couldn't buy clothes, I never had to wear torn or dirty clothes or raggedy clothes. Why? Because someone has always looked out for me, and paying it forward is what I was taught to do. But it's hard to realize that you can't pay it forward if you ain't got the money to pay it. That's the hard part. Is I'm so used to someone's always been there for me, um, that when I can't be there for somebody else, I actually feel bad. But I'm learning. I'm learning.
And
Uh,
you're doing it this year
yeah,
because you said
yeah,
you made a decision not
yeah,
to go anywhere for the
yeah,
holidays. You and
yeah.
Wendy are staying at home.
That's right. That's
There you
right.
go.
We
There you
staying at
go.
home,
And that's
and
difficult for a lot of
anybody
people.
listen, we only cooking a small amount, so y'all can't come here and eat. I'm we eating Cornish hens. We gonna split one. No, in all seriousness, we decided that the time and money spent um, elsewhere, we can spend right here. We won't have to
Right,
spend the money for driving and
right,
all that.
right, right. And
Tim said,
Christmas is even,
yeah.
huh? Go ahead. Oh, the
Tim
comment from
said, it's
Dalvin.
men we're expected. It's supposed to happen by any means necessary.
Yeah,
Um, and he's right. Uh, I've heard men say, I will rob to feed my family. Think about that. Think about the stress that if I can't get it another way, I just take it from somebody else to feed my family. And while that sentiment is understood that I'll do anything, for us to actually physically go out and rob someone else because that pressure, you're supposed to be the provider. Um, but I think that we have the mentality that us providing has to be physical. Um, it is deemed in society for us to be the provider. It has to be physical. We can't provide moral support. We're supposed to provide physical protection. Um, we can't, provide that safety net. It has to be physical. Um, You know, we have this thing that head of household means you have to make the most money. You have to pay all the bills. Um, we're supposed to do it all, and we're not supposed to say anything about it. And you know, and we listen to other men, um, and we allow them to control our pockets. You know, I've seen guys say, "Well, I pay all the bills in my house, and she don't spend a dime of her money, and she ain't got to." Well, in that case, I'm glad you can do that. All of us can't, and we can't live like that. If that's the case, and you can do that, then how about I just mail you some of my bills and you take care of them too?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we can't allow outside
Hmm.
people dictate
Hmm.
what goes on in our house.
Not
But
even in a marriage, not
no,
even with a significant other. So communication, listening to you,
yeah,
for the ladies who are listening, for the women who are listening, whether you're married, you have a spouse, a significant other, a brother, a father, to hear what Mr. Mark is saying.
I tell them,
Open,
yeah,
tell him.
you tell them. If you tell them, and um I told Wendy, I told her mother at our engagement party. I said, you don't have to worry about her. I said, as long as I'm breathing, she will have everything she needs. The key there is needs. I might not be able to supply her with all her wants,
Wants.
but I'm going to make sure she has everything she needs.
Right.
You know, and I think that's where it gets confusing for folks. Um, is it a want or is it a need? You know, I told you I can't give you the world, and I know that, but you're going to have everything you need, and that's what we have to do as men. We can't give them everything they want. Why? Because we know we want the world. We want everything. They do too, and we know that's not. We don't live in that type of society with that type of money to have everything we want. The main concern, even with our kids, when it comes to Christmas and holidays, what's more important? That you get this boy these $450 pair of Jordans or this $600 Xbox because that's what he wants, or do you give him some nice shoes and a pair of pants to go with it? Because do you want him out there with his butt out, but he got on some nice Jordans? You make sure he has what he needs first, and if
Hmm.
you have extra, then you get them what they want. And that's why I've always been. You know, I used to tell RJ when he was little, you get one big present, so to speak.
Hmm. Hmm.
And after that, you getting necessities. You getting a jacket. You getting some nice clothes. You're not
Hmm.
gonna get 7, 8 electronics or a bunch of toys that I'm gonna step on and my feet be hurting. That's not how it's gonna work.
Hmm.
And you start that early. You start that early. You know, I was
Early.
telling him about 7, 8 years old, pick out one toy that you want. And we would sit down back when the Sears catalog, whatever catalog, Kmart, whatever, look through it, pick one you want. And then if I had extra, he would get extra, but I would make sure I got him that one thing, you know, and
Hmm.
had to be practical. He wanted a game. No, it ain't a Game Boy. It was a Nintendo something. I don't remember. Well, the next year they had a bigger one. So the next year he wanted another Nintendo. I said, no, you're not getting that. You already got one.
Hmm.
I don't care. It's been upgraded. You got one. You know,
Hmm.
and
And you
so,
got to be strong to stick with that. You got to be strong
and
because
it's
you.
hard.
It's
It's
natural to
hard.
want to give your children what they want. But you mentioned, Mark, wants and needs. I taught my boys early about wants, needs, and desires. But
Yes.
tell us, during the holidays, what do men want? What do you all want? If for the women that are listening, for the wives that are listening, what do men really want for the holidays? Because, holidays can be traditionally, that stress comes where
Yeah.
you have to perform. You got to put up the big tree, the lights, and Something's wrong with you if you don't do this. Thanksgiving, you got to have the big spread. Something's wrong with you if you don't. So, what do men really want during the holidays? To sit and
Well,
watch football all day?
yes, yes, yes. I done lost my train of thought.
Leave
Yes,
me alone. The game
yes.
is
I'm
over.
sorry. Yes.
Look at those hearts.
It's that for for kids when Christmas come around, the carols come out. Well, Christmas for the majority of men starts the middle of September when football season starts. And for some October if they're strictly a basketball person. But for us, when sports start, that's when it's the most wonderful time of the year. Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and to be honest with you, I think that's why if I had to pick a favorite holiday, it would be Thanksgiving. And you might lose some followers for this. I know TN is not going to put a heart on this one.
You gonna say
But
something about some
on
tent?
Thanksgiving Day, it's all about eating and watching the Dallas Cowboys. That's all I've ever wanted for Thanksgiving. That's all I do every year for Thanksgiving. But seriously, we always want to be appreciated, but we just want a few minutes. That's it. Even as a crowd, even back before my anxiety got on 100 and I didn't want more than two people or three people around me, I would still take them few minutes. When we go home for Thanksgiving, when everybody's in there and the game wasn't on, that's when I go in the corner and still me a big chunk, a small slice about this wide of sweet potato pie. And
Now
I would
you were
go,
right the first time. You just
yeah,
caught
yeah,
yourself. You said
yeah.
big chunk.
A little small piece of sweet potato pie. And because we raised in the country, I would actually take my piece of sweet potato pie and go walking through the woods. I just disappear for about an hour and then come
Yeah,
walking back. Where you been? Over there.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
it's different for different men. But I know for me, for the holidays, it's weird is that I want my family to be happy and I want them around, just not up under me. So I know it's weird, but that's just me.
yeah. You know what? And lucky if you
Oh, yeah.
have a significant
Rod, bro.
other.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
that's
I'm
true.
going through some of these comments. So we were talking about what men want. Mr. Elliott says peace and brown liquor.
No,
Um,
look, brown liquor during the holidays is why there's so many arrests. Brown liquor, you don't act right. Clear alcohol on the holidays. There's too many folks around for brown liquor. That when somebody go to fight. Y'all don't understand. I guarantee you, if you go to any house during the football game when you hear all about this stuff, the man done threw something through the TV because his team lost. There's some brown liquor in the house that's open.
Miss Angie said something nice. She said, "My husband wants to be able to relax, and that's what I try to give him." And I
Yeah.
believe that's all that we can do is to try to provide that environment for them.
And see,
Mr. Congress
yeah.
says, "We just want to hear the words." Thank you. We just want to hear the words.
Yes, nephew. Ain't nobody studying you and your commanders up in Baltimore, Troy. It's all about the Cowboys. At least we know to keep the same name. We don't keep flip flopping our name, so it's about the Cowboys. But now, back to the serious side is that a lot of times we just don't know how to express because of the stigma. That the right word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of the stigma, and that's all the time for men. We can't express. So when you have that one dude that you can rely on, and even then you don't want to talk every time you see him. You want to start talking about this, that, and other because like I ain't your therapist, bro. We can talk sometimes, but a lot of times people don't reach out unless they want to talk about themselves and stuff like that. So it makes you standoffish, and we continue to push our problems down, literally just compartmentalize them. put them in a box, push them down, and keep it moving. You know, um,
Yeah. And not try
but
to
what
be
I come to
everything for
realize is that,
everybody.
right, what I come to realize, it took me a long time, and that's why I talk so much about dealing with depression and anxiety. Is that, a lot of times we say we don't care, what people say about us, but we do. But it's a lot less for me. You know, I got my fellows on here, and I love them dearly. Tim and Rod, they like my brothers. But if it comes to a point where they don't like something I do or say, they will be all right. And they know the same about me. If I did, we're not always going to agree. And that's why you need a true friend, not somebody that just a yes man. You need somebody that you can talk to that can actually respond back, that they don't enable you in your foolishness.
Mm,
And we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't attempt to have that, because as men, if we start to show too much emotion, not only do we get labeled as weak, but homophobia sets in. Is this
mm.
dude venting to me, or is he trying to, you know, what I'm saying? It-
Yeah, I
why he
do.
talking to me all the time? Yeah, why is he calling me? You we allow society to do that. Um, and we like, I tell my dad every time I talk to him that I love him. Um, I told my grandfather that all my life. You know, I tell my uncles that, I tell my son that, I tell these fellas that. And that's an awkward time with some when you say that, because we're taught not to. You know, you're not
Yeah.
supposed. You're supposed to. Not supposed to say something like that. Um, we're not supposed to express that type of feeling or sentiment towards someone, uh, because we're afraid that it might be misconstrued. They know exactly what I'm talking about. They know
Right.
exactly who I am, um, and you need that. You need somebody you can talk to. Everybody needs
Somebody.
not just a friend. You need a true friend, and there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Um, you find it hard to talk because you know it's going to be brought back up. Well, not as much with men, but I know that men a lot of times won't express themselves to their better half or to a woman, period, because 25 years later she'll bring her. You remember that time back in uh, 1989 when you told me such and such. So that's fear. When we get over that fear, when we stop worrying about what others think, if you're a parent, then you worry about what how your kids see you, in a sense.
Hmm.
Or your, as a husband, how your wife views, how she views how you do things. But outside your house, she didn't give a damn what nobody thinks. As long as you're living the way you're supposed to do, if you're doing what you need to do in your home to provide for your family, that's all you should worry about. Others' perception of me, what others think about me, I stopped caring about a long time ago.
And if you don't have that friend, I'm looking for that 1-800 number. There's always a helpline. Um, when you
Exactly, Troy.
first when you first met Wendy, Mark, how did you all have that conversation? How did you let her know that you deal with depression?
I
Um,
did.
you
I
didn't?
did. No, she told me.
Mm,
She like, Mark,
mm,
you're dealing with depression, because we met when Yolanda passed away, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I ain't depressed. Might be. She like,
that was
sadness is
your
for a few
previous
minutes.
wife, correct?
Yes,
Yolanda.
yeah.
Okay.
Sadness is for a little while. You're dealing with depression. I'm like, nah, I'm good. So I didn't. She recognized the signs, and then
Mm,
when I started talking to somebody, when I started to get counseling and things of that nature, because um, I was always good. I was trying to, keep it in the road for my son. But when I started getting help, when I started to talk to someone and I could tell them everything, um, I actually became triggered, and I thought about how I've acted and reacted to certain things for years.
Mm.
We talked in our last session about how long that I've been dealing with depression. Uh, I've been dealing with depression probably over 20 years. And I was in denial for the first, how long we been together, baby? Since 2017, so 5 years. So yeah. So maybe I was in denial about it for the first 15 years that I was actually dealing with depression with everything that was going on.
When did
Um,
you realize you needed help? When did you realize it was time to get help?
when I be sad and ready to cry for absolutely no reason.
Mm.
And I'm like, because I show emotion when I'm happy. I don't, show the sad stuff, and I don't dwell on that. And I would be sad with absolutely no reason and wanted to cry. Or you could say something to me, and I'm not hearing you what you said. I'm hearing it in the mentality that I'm in. I had somebody, they were laughing and joking, and we had this email thread at work, and we were actually having fun at work. And somebody said, "I can't deal with you," meaning that I was being funny. But I read it as I said, "Well, you don't have to deal with me." And I realized I was triggered. I was angry. I was angry a lot. And my temper, my mood changed like that, you know. And even then, I'm like, all I wanted to do was say, okay, let me get it together. I still didn't want to say, I need to talk to somebody about this. Um, Now, I've never been a violent person, but quick to anger, and then suddenly sad for no reason. I'm talking wake up in the morning, I done slept good, and I'm sad, and I feel like crying, and I don't know why. Sometimes when you miss someone, you want to cry, or if you're thinking about something that brings up triggers a memory. But I was like that all the time. I was like that all the time. Just felt like crying. In the middle of the day, I'm sitting there and I can't figure out why I'm sad. You know, I got everything going. I'm not missing meal. I ain't missed meals in a long time. I'm not missing meals. I'm not dealing with a lot of bill collectors. I was at a point where everything was running smooth, and I felt my worth, and I didn't know why. And I was like that for a long time before um, I met Wendy, and she recognized it. I'm what you call on the outside looking in. If you didn't choose to learn a person, I'm what they call a walking red flag.
Mm.
Um, but I am so grateful to God that Wendy could actually put all my stuff into perspective and dealt with me. Period. I mean, there are no secrets about my life. I have an older child that I don't have a relationship with. I have a 32-year-old son. We don't have a relationship from a previous relationship. I've been married twice before I met her. Those are red flags to
Mm.
any other woman.
Mm.
And then she met me at a time when I was grieving, you know. So, and she, when we started talking, like I said, with just as friends, well, when things started to change with us, without her asking, because I could feel it, I said, I'm not looking for a replacement. So know that, because that's a red flag. That's same as you just broke up out of one relationship and you get into another. Those are all red flags. If you just look at it on paper. But she chose to, well, it helped that we were friends. She was, I guess, be honest with you, she was probably my first counselor and she didn't know it. Um, and
Yeah.
y'all hear laughing in the background. But because we
She's
would talk.
always close by.
Yeah, yeah. But she was probably my first counselor. Because when I was having bad days and I wouldn't go get counseling, we would talk, normally about the kids. And I think she was setting me up to talk, because the first thing I told her, I said, I'll text you or something. I said, I don't talk on the phone for a long time. I don't like being on the phone long. And then as our friendship progressed, even as friends, when there was nothing relationship wise or anything about dating, we would sit and talk about our kids and life for hours on the phone, something that nobody could get me to do. Um, and so, like I said, she was my first counselor. She would start the conversation, and then she like, what you think about this or what you think about that? And yeah, so she was my
Uh,
first counselor. I ain't, I
Mark,
ain't,
you said
ain't no back
something.
pay. She can't send me no bill now. I done put a ring on it, so ain't gonna be no, I don't want to see no invoice for no. That
Wendy, the check is
we's
in the
married
mail.
now.
Mark, you said something when you were talking about crying for no reason. A few people came and said, Troy, sometimes I feel the same way. Um, Roger Elliott, me too. You know, this is what it takes. This is what it takes. Sometimes it takes one person to be vulnerable enough to, it takes a lot for a man to say, I cry for no reason. And you're saying it publicly. I believe more men would be comfortable to share that if there was a forum for men. But as you mentioned, you don't want to be anybody's counselor, but
Right.
to just let men know that they aren't alone. So, for men who are listening, who may not make one comment tonight, who may be feeling that way, what would you say to them to not encourage them to get help, but the importance, because it affects everyone around you, not just you? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, Rod made a good point. He said, contact your job's EAP. Most of them, most jobs now have that. Um, it's hard. Folks my age and maybe a little younger, I don't know about the younger generation, but folks in my 45 and up range, we're a different breed. We're not the same as our parents. They were a totally different breed, but we're a different breed from what we have now. And we were just taught, um, we don't talk about it. But where has that gotten us? Where has it gotten us? Ulcers, anger,
Mm.
lo- losing hair. Mine fell out naturally. It wasn't from stress, but where has it gotten us, fellas?
Loneliness.
Where has it gotten us? You can't stay in a relationship, or your relationships always volatile. Where has it gotten us? We live in a society now where things are there. We have resources that were never available to us, and if they were, uh, we wouldn't go. We didn't have the same options, the amount of availability, the cost wise. We weren't working. We couldn't afford it. Um, our parents couldn't afford it. You know, some of the stuff we deal with, we've had these emotional issues all our lives, which means we probably should have been in therapy when we were little. You know, when you have self-esteem issues and things like that. Um, Having issues mentally does not mean you are crazy. It does not mean that you're dealing with insanity. You going through and you need help. We can't be independent on everything. We need help. The resources are available. And Tony, yeah. And then if you like me, Tony, you feel like crying, you don't know why, and then you get mad because you feel like crying, you don't know why. So you don't went from sad to angry, and then you start to feel remorse. I'm angry for nothing. So you done went through about 6 or 7 different emotions and don't know why,
Mm.
you know. And then, God forbid, somebody interact with you during one of those times when you're going through that, and it ain't a good interaction.
You
You
know
know,
what?
a lot of disagreements and fights on the job and stuff like that don't necessarily come from what somebody said. It was your state of mind when they said it. Because I tell you what, if you in a good mood and I say shut up, you know I'm joking. But if you're in a bad place and I say shut up, you don't see it, you don't hear it. You don't hear it how it's said. You hear it how you're thinking. It's the
Okay,
same way
stop
when
right
you
there.
read it.
Stop right
Yeah.
there. That's the second time you mentioned something like that. I believe you said you were at work and you guys had
Yes.
a
Yes.
email and you read it wrong, but you
Yes.
reacted how you read it in your head.
That's
So
right.
you said it again. So,
A lot of miscommunications because we read and we hear things in our own voice.
mm,
We don't have any kind of neutrality about it because of what we're dealing with that might not have anything to do with them. Think about it this way. Most people that work in customer service for these businesses, they're not the one to send you a bill. They're simply there to answer your questions when you call. How many times have you gotten a bill or something that you don't understand and you already pissed off? And you talk to this person who don't even know who you are. You have to give them your all your information: name, address, social security number, blood type, mother's maiden name. If you got to give them all this information, so they don't know you. But think about how quick you go off on them because of your mentality at the time when they happen to be the unfortunate person to answer the phone. Now, some customer service people are just stupid. But think about how many times you've been in a bad mood because of something, and you call and you take it out on them. It's the same way with anything else. When you're going through something, whatever comes towards you, you see it and you interpret it in your own thoughts. Sometimes people say something where you being sarcastic. You should know sarcasm. But if you're already in a bad mood, then it sounds sarcastic. Because we read, and especially now when we do more email and texting than actually talking on the phone, we read things in our own mental voice, and that causes a lot of misunderstanding. So we have to try, because it's not easy to have a neutrality when we're listening to people. We have to get out of our feelings, so to speak, to fully understand what they're saying, and that's not easy to do. Um, Especially if you're in that mood before they get there. Now, if they put you in that mood, that's something totally different. But if you're in a certain mood when somebody approaches you, it is hard to flip the switch. If I'm feeling sad, I'm not going to turn around as soon as you say something to me and I'm happy. Doesn't work like that. But we have to learn that we have to get out of our head for a second when we're dealing with other people, because especially when it's not face to face. You know, a lot of times you can read body language and stuff to understand more what a person is saying as opposed to hearing it in your own head.
okay, this is a good comment. I always apologize right after I snap. I always feel bad. And I have friends who deal with depression. So I took it upon myself to join a support group for friends and family members of those who deal with depression so I could understand it better. Um, One thing I learned is you can't take things personal. So that is why I put her comment up. I'm making reference to it. I always apologize right after I snap, but your apology is good, but unless that person is aware of what's going on,
Yeah,
if you're dealing with someone who's not even aware of their mental illness or of their depression or their state of mind, they may not understand what's going on, which is why I joined the supports to better educate myself. Because you mentioned earlier, that's why um, work relationships begin to fail. That's why personal relationships begin to fail. everybody doesn't know not to take it personal, and everyone is not strong enough to not take it personal. And words can be hurtful, words can be everlasting damage.
And that's why I say seek professional help. They have been trained to do what you're saying now. They don't know you from Adam. They are designed to sit there and get out of their own head when you're talking. You know, so they don't, well, even if they hear it in their own thought process, they don't react upon it because that's how they're trained.
Right.
You know, and that's why, we worry about money. I know we understand, worry about bills and all that. But if you have it through your job, use it. They have 1-800 number. They have counselors. If you can't afford it, call somebody. Right there. What that says on the screen, I ain't got my glasses on, but that's a helpline.
SAMHSA, that's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. They are
And if you
open
can't remember that number,
24/7.
if you can't remember that number, 988. You can call 988.
988. That's right.
But talk to
988.
somebody. Fellas especially, talk to somebody.
Or
We have to
screenshot this
deprogram
if you
ourselves.
can.
We have to deprogram ourselves. You know,
But you have to have help, Tony. And I think, Mark, I think you mentioned Tony's name so much. I'm calling
yes.
you Tony. Mark, you have to, it's hard to deprogram yourself. And I think that's what the problem is, because men, especially our culture and the ego and just what is expected of us, you try to fix it yourself.
But
So you're
we
going to
can't,
go, what you said,
yeah.
you went 20 years.
But we try
20
to fix it.
years.
We try to fix it all at one time. The first step is seeking help. That's what I learned. I can't just fix it all myself and I'm gonna be a better person tomorrow. I'm not gonna deal with this tomorrow, or I'm gonna automatically feel better, and tomorrow I'm not gonna cry. You know, that's why you can't fix it. The deprogramming is not everything at once. It starts with 988, or it starts with that helpline. You know, a lot of times we don't talk to other folks because we can't truly trust them to hold what we say,
Right.
to themselves.
Right.
Unless you are talking about hurting yourself or hurting others, if you call that helpline, they are required by law to keep your business between you and them.
Confidential. It
And
is
if you are
confidential.
considering hurting yourself or somebody else, then you need to get off this live and call them right now. But we got to make the
Or
first step. We're not
I'm
going
sure,
to heal overnight. We got to make the first step.
exactly. And I'm sure someone here is willing, if it's someone in the feed, someone who's made a comment, if you don't feel comfortable, not even calling the helpline, but support, you're exactly right. Support is so very needed when you're depressed. I asked my therapist to have a session with my husband to
Yes,
explain what I was going through, because he couldn't understand my grieving process. Support
yes,
is so very important. Now, we're going to have to come on again, Mark, because it's we've already passed our hour's time. But I want
yes,
to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to put the men on the spot who have commented or who have tuned in. If I provide you a platform, would you be willing to join Mark to talk openly about depression, as we're doing here? Would you be willing to come on and just share? You don't have to be as transparent as Mark has been. You might be not be able to be that transparent, but to show your face, to let people know depression doesn't have a particular face. It doesn't look, it looks like the average person. But I believe dialogue would really help. And I don't know, there are probably many groups out there that do this. They might be private groups or whatever. But I believe that this public forum is helpful. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments. Okay,
Rod
Roger, you
already
said you
stepped up.
would. Okay, you would join us. No pressure, no pressure whatsoever. But if this is done on a regular basis, whenever it's convenient for you all, I believe being a voice for depression, for mental health awareness, would just be helpful to so many people. So many people. Mark, again, I thank you. Robert Congress, he says, sign me up. Okay, so we got two. Hey, that's wonderful. So I will get with you all on a time, and we'll do that. We'll wait till after the holidays. I don't want to put any more stress on us than we already. We'll wait
Yeah.
till for the new year, and this will be great to have open dialogue. I don't have to say much. I will give you guys the platform. I'll just get you on, and I'll do the advertising and just try to get the word out more to have more of our men connected, mainly just to feel so you don't feel like you're alone. Okay, Mark, I'm going to give you closing words.
It can sound like I'm a pastor. In that case, first giving honor to God, who's the head of my life. Now, I just want to say, and see, okay, this is something else. Um, you can still laugh and be sad. That's the funny part. I started using self-depreciating humor when people used to pick at me about the size of my head. I used to, joke on yourself. But what I want to say, fellas, I appreciate y'all just showing up tonight. Um, while everybody's not dealing with the same issues, know that somebody's dealing with something each and every day. And in some cases, I can sympathize with you. And in other cases, I can empathize with you. If I'm not going through what you're going through, I still care that you're going through it. If I am, then I know exactly what you're dealing with. Um, but yeah, fellas, don't allow nobody else's um, perception of you stop you from getting help. Um, like I said, it's too many. It's too many different avenues now, uh, and know that you might not ever get back to where you even thought you were, but you have to work on you. Um, I still, even though I talk to someone, I talk to a therapist, I still get up a lot of mornings and damn near crying my coffee for absolutely no reason at all. Don't think talking to somebody is a quick fix or even a fix. It is an avenue to allow you to get this stuff off you, to get it out of your system. All them boxes we done closed up and pushed down and putting this, that's not only putting stress on our mind, putting physical stress on our bodies. This allows you, getting therapy allows you opportunity to get some of that weight off. So if you can, find somebody. Like I said, if your job don't have it, you don't have insurance or whatever, call the 1-800 number. That's what they're there for. That's what these people have been set up to do this. They've been trained to do it. But we can't fix ourselves in situations like this. And having mental, dealing with depression, anxiety, any kind of mental issue does not mean you're crazy. It just means you're going through something. Don't ever let nobody shame you into not getting help based on what they've said. I mean, we know it, us country boys, when somebody act out, he just got the devil in him. He just need a good ass whipping. That's what he needs. No, that ain't always the case. So, fellas, if nobody else cares, I do.
Mm,
Trust me.
mm.
And you got to get out your comfort zone because, like I said, I dealt with this. I've been dealing with this 20 years or more. I was in my 20s. It might be closer to 30. And I just felt like, oh, it's just a day. And the next day I didn't feel as bad. So I figured it was just a moving of the past, but that's not always the case. So y'all see about getting some help. Anytime, Renee. Appreciate you
Thank
too,
you,
Chris.
Mark.
All right,
Thank
fellas. I
you.
appreciate y'all. And let me
Yes.
say this. They have always supported me. The guy that's on here, we have this camaraderie that me and Chris didn't even know that we like some of the things we like. We were just church family. Christopher Bryan was church family. Now that's just family. Church ain't got nothing to do with it. Me and Rod, we were work family at Academy. We ain't worked there in years, but we still family. They've always looked out for me. And Troy accepted me as family immediately because that's my nephew-in-law, however you want to put it. Nephew. So
you have a strong support group.
Yeah, I do.
So
I do.
I just feel like the ones who may not have that same support circle, they deserve it also. And that's why I want to create. I want them to get to know one another, be there for one another, and just know that they are not alone.
That's right,
Renee
Rod.
says, what about me? Okay, since you said that, we're going to close in just a minute. Wendy, this is your thing for the females and depression. I can't take them all on. I already promised a platform for the men. So Wendy, who has written an article in a previous issue of the Other Woman magazine, she's coming back for the next issue to share why it took so long for her to get medication for depression and what it took. So Wendy is going to be a part of the Other Woman magazine and sharing her depression. So Renee, get with Wendy on a groove. Wendy, you got some work to do while you're backstage doing production.
And I said, don't make me turn over one of these tables up in here. Y'all just gonna talk about the guy up in here too.
So
now that's my buddy too.
The women. I believe I have the men because I have men in my life, 2 or 3 friends who deal with depression. So wanting to offer them the support. So I got you all, Elliot and Congress. You guys are on next with Mark and anybody else who is willing to share and come on live. Just what we did here tonight, just speaking your truth, telling your truth about depression to hopefully help someone else. Okay, we got to go. I think this is the longest I've gone over. 8:15. Okay. Sorry for my tardy. That's okay, Dr. Winborn. Thank you for dropping in. She's already a therapist. I was talking about Mark. Okay. Okay. You all, thank you so much again for tuning in. Somebody's calling you Sports Mafia, Team Sports Mafia. Okay. You guys, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you. And the holidays, take it easy. It's okay to say no. It's okay to do what you want to do. Get that remote and just veg out on that sofa and watch those football games if that's what you want to do. But find some place to get you a good meal, then go watch the football game. Okay, you guys, thank you. I got to acknowledge my sponsor, attorney Robert Allen, and make sure you like the Other Woman magazine Facebook page, please, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we have other shows coming up, peeling back the layers. Thank you for your support. And until next time, we shall see you again. Attorney Robert Allen is the sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are gone.